It started with the moon. Not a broadcast. Not a threat. No looming shadows or cryptic warnings from the edge of space. Just a crack, sharp and wrong, that echoed across every observatory, radar station, and backwater telescope still operational. The moon split in half at 0400 UTC. Two jagged crescents hung in the sky like a pair of broken wings. People stared up in silence. Some took photos. Some dropped to their knees. Then the chunks started falling. A molten fragment the size of Manhattan slammed into the Pacific. A tidal wall 3 kilometers high hit the west coast 12 minutes later. It didn't stop. It moved inland like liquid death, taking cities with it, one by one. And still, no message. No explanation. No demands. Just the sky burning. By 0500, every major satellite system was offline. The orbital defense ring? Gone. Overridden and detonated from the inside. Earth's eyes had been ripped out. Now it couldn't see the monsters coming. They called themselves the Drakari, a swarm species from the black zones beyond map space. Silicon-based, star-hungry, born in gravity wells. No faces. No mercy. No interest in conquest. They didn't want territory. They wanted extinction. Their ships weren't ships. They were bioforges wrapped in armor, pulsing with heat and acid. Leviathans that fed on atmospheres and blacked out the sun as they passed overhead. They didn't land. They harvested. Peeled crust from continents like flesh. Boiled oceans. Turned human beings into heat signatures and then into silence. One swarm for every hemisphere. 6 hours into the invasion, 4 billion were gone. The end of Earth was quiet. In the high-orbit ruins of the Valkyrie station, Admiral Juna watched her final crewman bleed out through the walls. No gravity. No air. No point in screaming. She pressed a single command into the dying console with her last 3 fingers. Project Fallen Seraph, authorize. Then she died, smiling. In the tunnels beneath Zurich, Prime Commander Rios activated the Iron Vault protocols, the last resort databanks. They didn't hold weapons. They held secrets. And one name lit up the dark. Kale Vaya. Status, terminated. Location, black ice containment, site null. Rios hesitated. The war rooms had all said the same thing. Kale was unstable. A failed prototype. A nuclear tantrum in human skin. His last mission killed 7,000 bystanders and saved the colony. They locked him away because they were afraid of what he'd do next. Now Earth was dying. What did they have left to be afraid of? Rios turned the key. In the streets, there were no heroes. Jakarta burned in silence. The air was too hot to carry screams. The ground had liquefied. Children fused to the pavement mid-run. Buildings sagged, then collapsed into bone-filled craters. The Drakari didn't stop. They released atmosphere flares over the Eurasian continent, biomechanical parasites that floated 10 meters off the ground, inhaling everything and exhaling nothing. In New York, resistance fighters made their last stand in the ruins of Times Square. 7 teenagers with modified plasma rifles, crying as they fired into the haze. They held for 6 minutes. Long enough to make the kill count 7 to 9 before the swarm washed over them. They died holding each other. The signal that broke the silence. At 0603 UTC, every device on Earth flickered back to life. Phones, screens, billboards, HUD implants, broken VR visors, all hijacked at once. Even the deaf heard the static. Even the blind saw the glare. Then came the voice. Cold. Mechanical. Translated into every language. Inhuman. Earth, you are cleared. Purpose, reap. Resistance, irrelevant. We are Drakari. You are nutrient. There were no negotiations. No diplomacy. Just an open confirmation of genocide. And from the deepest, coldest places on Earth, something stirred. Deep below, the monster in the ice. Site null wasn't on any map. It was a forgotten hole drilled into the Antarctic crust, 20 kilometers deep, guarded by machines that couldn't be bribed and didn't sleep. A vault built not to protect humanity, but to protect humanity from what was buried inside. When the final protocol unlocked, the cryo fluid drained with a hiss like steam escaping from hell. And there he was. Kale Vaya. 6'3", barefoot. shivering, naked. His skin was pale gold. His hair was platinum white, long and wet, clinging to his face in strands. His body was carved like a god's, sharp, lean, honed to lethal symmetry. He looked fragile, beautiful, until he opened his eyes. His irises burned with jewel star cores, spinning in his sockets. His breath came out as smoke, not because it was cold, but because his body was waking up and starting to burn from the inside. 2 drones hovered near him, projecting data streams. His gaze flicked to the casualty numbers. The moon, the swarm, the dead. Kale didn't speak for a full 60 seconds. Then, how long was I out? 6 years, said the AI. Why'd they wake me up? Because Oath is gone. Kale stepped out of the pod. Each movement cracked ice. His feet hissed against the frozen floor. He walked like someone who didn't feel gravity. Like someone who'd been born in fire and missed it. He reached out, and the armor came to him, nano-fused liquid mesh that snapped into place across his body like a second skin. Jet black, vein glowing. No plates. No helmet. Just sleek, alien death wrapping his frame. He flexed his fingers. Sparks danced across his knuckles. Where's my glaive? The AI hesitated. Lost. After Geneva. Kale smiled. It was not a kind smile. Then we make a new one. Across the stars, the Drakari felt it. Somewhere above the asteroid belt, a swarm lord paused mid-feast. The temperature around it dipped. The bioforge inside its gut spasmed. A voice echoed through the dark matter threads between their hive minds. A name. Kale. The swarm lord tilted its head. Curious. Then the fear hit. A memory. A small boy walking through fire on Vega Prime, dragging 3 corpses behind him. A soldier smiling as he ripped a swarm lord apart with his bare hands on Thalos 9. A man who didn't die when stabbed, shot, or drowned. Who laughed when the vacuum of space tried to claim him. Who whispered to suns and made them explode. They had locked him away. But now? He was coming. And he wasn't going to stop. 0607 UTC, 6 minutes after the world ended. Kale Vaya walked through the frozen guts of Sight Null, barefoot, unarmed, and smiling. His smile wasn't joy, it was hunger. A quiet, impossible thing that curled at the corners of his lips like he'd just remembered the name of a forgotten prey. The holes around him lit as he moved. Not by motion sensors, by recognition. Everything in this place had been built for him. The lights, the air pressure, the temperature shifts, the war tech folding from the walls, all synced to his neural ID. He passed a black mirror. Stopped. Looked at himself. The man staring back looked like a sin carved from starlight. Face smooth, body lean cut with brutal symmetry. Hair clung wet and long over his shoulders. His eyes were molten twin stars, glowing steady now, no longer sparking, fully awake. Kale flexed his fingers. Each joint crackled with kinetic energy. He clenched his fist and light bled from his knuckles. He turned to the drone trailing him. System readiness. 92%, it replied. We are reinitializing Seraph Prime OS. Weapon Forge online. Awaiting neural sync. Where's the forge located? Sublevel Theta. Behind the trauma vault. Kale grinned wider. Of course it is. He stepped through the elevator doors. No buttons. Just biometric scan. A whisper of his name across the ancient code base. Then the elevator fell. Not lowered, plummeted. Kale closed his eyes and remembered the last time he was in freefall. 10 years earlier, Vega Prime. No one had asked him to jump. But the Drakari had taken the outer colonies, and Geneva's War Council had hesitated. Sent negotiations. Probes. Diplomats. Idiots. So Kale jumped. From orbit. Naked. He hit the Vega Prime capital like a comet, skin blistering, teeth clenched. The impact vaporized a 3-block radius. Before the Drakari could react, he'd killed 75 of them. With a broken sword. One arm shattered. He'd stood in their feeding chamber, soaked in alien ichor, chest heaving, pupils flaring like novas. They'd begged. He hadn't known they could even beg. He burned their nest from the inside. Then he smiled. And that was the first time the universe whispered the word. Seraph. Back to now, the sublevel forge. The doors hissed open. Heat rolled out like a furnace sighing. The Seraforge was a relic of forbidden design, not built by humans, but extracted from a warship found drifting in the Orion grave belt. Part tech, part living alloy. It had no controls, no operators. Just one rule. Only the Seraph may enter. Kale stepped barefoot into the forge. It responded immediately, walls pulsing, floor liquefying beneath him. Tendrils of nanostructure coiled up his arms, scanning every nerve, every scar. The forge remembered him. It welcomed him. He dropped to one knee, plunged both hands into the pool of glowing alloy, and exhaled. Let's make something perfect. Operation Starkov. The forge screamed as it woke. Plasma conduits ignited. Atomic printheads fired. Dark matter threads spun from light and pressure and fury. The chamber shuddered. In 10 minutes, Kale held the result, the glaive of Solus. 2 meters long. Handle forged from collapsed neutronium, light as bone, unbreakable. Blade, curved, sun-edged, humming with caged stellar fire. When he moved it, it didn't cut, it erased. He twirled it, the arc leaving scorch marks in the air. Smiled. Now we talk payback. The mission brief. Kale stood in the data core room as mission specs poured in across a dozen transparent wall panels. Earth's military command was gone. UNDF disbanded. Orbital shields offline. Population 2.2 billion remaining. Resistance scattered. There was no one left to give him orders. Just scraps of data, recorded by the site null AI, a final hope that if Kale Vaya ever woke up, he'd do what he was built to do. And he would. The final panel flickered to a map of the Drakari swarm. A pulsating hive pattern stretching across 13 systems, anchored by a command node called Voraxis Prime. Location, unknown. Function, Hive Lord core star engine. If he could kill the Hive Lord, the swarm would fracture. He didn't need to win. Just break their brain. Kale didn't hesitate. Prep the ship. The vessel that shouldn't exist. Hangar doors opened with a groan like the Earth itself waking up. Inside was the Icarian Blade, a stealth-class, FTL-capable ghost frigate once banned by 7 interstellar treaties. It ran on antisol tech and a quantum prediction core that saw events before they happened. The ship had no bridge, no crew. It only had Kale. He stepped inside and the walls pulsed with welcome. Neural tethers wrapped his wrists. The controls became part of him. Set destination. Find me a trail of burning stars. The hunt begins. The Icarian Blade slipped into slip space, reality shredding like wet cloth around it. Stars blurred. Time fractured. Inside the ship, Kale floated above the controls, half-conscious, linked to every particle of the hull. He could smell Drakari's scent trails now. Rut, ozone, spore ash. The AI predicted a likely swarm route near the burnt-out husks of the Altanis system. 2 jumps out. Kale sharpened his glaive while he waited. Replayed old combat footage. Studied every frame. Found new ways he could have killed faster. The blade emerged from slip space. The swarm was there. A small vanguard fleet. Scouting. Feeding. Kale blinked once. Slow. Test run. The first massacre. The Icarian cloaked mid-burn. Kale jumped without waiting for orbit. No suit. Just rage and light and a hunger so bright it blinded scanners. He hit the lead ship like lightning, pierced the hull with the glaive, tore through biosteel like it was paper. His body moved on instinct, a blur of cuts and leaps, glaive flashing like a supernova at midnight. The swarm never saw him coming. Within 2 minutes, 3 destroyers had vented their cores. A 4th tried to flee. Kale launched himself across the vacuum, impaled it mid-escape, and rode it down into the planet's crust. He stood atop the smoking crater, bleeding but laughing. Not from joy. From clarity. He hadn't fought in 6 years. He'd forgotten how good it felt. The signal they didn't expect. After the carnage, Kale found a relay beacon inside one of the ships, a direct line to Voraxis Prime. He didn't hesitate. He stabbed into it. And broadcast. No encryption. No camouflage. Just his voice. Drakari command. I'm alive. I'm awake. And I'm coming for your sons. Then he cut the transmission. And smiled. 6 hours after the transmission, The Drakari hive mind reeled. Across the silent slipstreams of dark space, millions of nodes hissed, spasmed, and lit with sudden red illumination, not from an attack, but from something worse. Recognition. The name Kael'Vaya, not a frequency, not a signal, but a memory construct, slipped between their biocode like a virus from hell. The Drakari did not fear planets. They did not fear armies. They feared him. Because Kael wasn't a man to them. He was an extinction-level event. And now he was carving a path straight to Varaxis Prime, the core of their intelligence web, the brainstem of the swarm, their one untouchable god nucleus system. He wasn't marching there. He was burning his way through. First star, Solari Theta. A system drenched in sulfur storms and cryolite. 3 Drakari hives harvested gas giants here. Each hive shipped the size of a continent, orbiting slowly, tendrils latched into planetary cores, leaching heat and mineral data. The Icarian blade dropped from slipspace at solar flank, cloaked. Kael didn't speak. He just dropped, glaive in hand. From the launch bay, armor skin-tight and flaring with solar charge. The first hive ship spotted him mid-fall, too late. He plunged into its outer shell, glaive first, and detonated his entry point like a micronova. Inside, it was flesh and steel and chittering insects with plasma claws. Kael danced through them, not like a warrior, but like a symphony of slaughter. Each spin, each strike, each breath was war poetry. The glaive sang in his hands, pulsing with pure star heat. When it touched Drakari carapace, their bodies didn't split, they vanished. Kael fought for 10 minutes. When the hive tried to jettison its core, he punched through the containment barrier, gripped the core's pulse heart, and screamed, "Remember my name." He snapped the heart in two. The ship collapsed inward, sucking its brethren with it. Solari Theta went dark in 17 seconds. Second star, Grave Ward Trinary. Grave Ward was a forbidden mining site. Orbiting a decayed star, it had 3 minor suns that gave the system its name. Drakari drones had turned the system into a furnace-lace cage to trap any human fleet foolish enough to enter. Kael didn't bring a fleet. He brought rage. He jumped between the suns, using gravitational whip pulls, riding micro-slingshots. No ship, just his body and raw motion. His armor scorched. Bones cracked. Blood boiled in his ears. He reached the central rig, a Drakari cruciform nest stitched from dying solar flares. Kael ripped through it like it was paper. They threw their strongest bionites at him. Massive, armored, 7-limbed giants with thermal mauls and acidic breath. Kael dodged the first swing, shattered the night spine with a reverse glaive sweep, stole its weapon, and hurled it straight through the reactor core. The explosion cleaved one of the suns in half. The rig's own shield collapsed. Kael used a dead knight's carapace as a sled and surfed the solar eruption out, laughing. 2 down. Third star, Evis Halo. This one was different. A stealth node. No heat. No planets. Just a dead star surrounded by a ring of frozen debris and black light camo fields. A Drakari listening post. The Icarian blade slipped in. Silent. Invisible. Kael emerged from the ship like a phantom. No light. No sound. Just motion. His body pulse cold. He used the shadows, crept between sensor flares, left no trace. Until he reached the command nexus. Then he lit up like a star being born. Every sensor blinded. Every Drakari commander turned, and their vision was already full of death. He didn't speak. Didn't scream. He unleashed. Zero-gravity glaive combat was Kael's art. He twisted through the air, kicked off walls, spun the glaive in figure eights that erased anything near him. He didn't break their defenses. He rendered them meaningless. Within 6 minutes, the post was scrap. Kael carved a message into the Nexus shell with the tip of his glaive. Stop running. Fourth star, Zerakai. A swamp moon orbiting a pulsar. Drakari used it to incubate high-tier swarm queens. Kael landed hard, broke the crust with his impact, and climbed from the crater with flames licking his shoulders. Rain turned to steam as it hit him. Swarm queens screamed, not fear, but instinctual terror. Kael didn't go for the queens first. He went for the eggs. He found the spawn cradles and tore them apart with glaive sweeps, igniting chemical wombs and evaporating generations in seconds. Then he faced the queens. 30 meters tall. Hive linked. Screaming in unison. He sprinted toward the first one and didn't stop. Slid under its claws, leapt up its spine, plunged the glaive through its skull. He used its falling body as cover from the others. Rolled. Sprint. Leap. Cut. A ballet of annihilation. He used the glaive to open one queen's ribcage, climbed inside, and detonated his armor's kinetic core. No survivors. The Icarian picked him up as the moon broke into pieces behind him. 5th star, Lurex core. They tried to trap him here. Set a bait relay, mimicking civilian distress signals. The swarm had learned. They were adapting. The ambush was coordinated. Smart. Overwhelming. Kale let it happen. He walked into the trap, got caught, got dragged onto their execution vessel. Then smiled. You think I didn't know? He kicked upward, shattering his own restraints, and headbutted the first executioner. His glaive exploded out from his back like summoned fire, folding into his hand mid-spin. 20 seconds. That's how long it took to kill every last thing in that room. He didn't spare a single drone. And when the ship tried to escape, he punched through the control matrix and turned the engines inward, melting the ship into a starburst. He didn't leave survivors. He left legends. 6th star, Noctis Vega. A rogue station on the edge of known space, converted by Drakari into a black site communication post. This is where they monitored Hive logic, where the Hive Lord himself likely kept echoes of thought. Kale infiltrated silently. Not because he couldn't kill, but because he wanted them to watch. He hacked the interface. Streamed his approach directly into their mind web. Every queen. Every node. Every warrior. They saw him, glowing with starblood, walking through their sanctum like it belonged to him. I'm not here to win, Kale said. I'm here to end. Then he carved through their elite. Drakari honor guard, mind-linked tridents of will, each trained for 1,000 cycles. Didn't matter. Kale moved like gravity didn't apply. Sliced the air into heat. One kick shattered bone. One stare froze cause. He uploaded a virus into the command lattice. His voice, repeating, I am the Reaper. You took Earth. Now I take your sons. The Drakari screamed. Some clawed their own minds apart. Kale didn't stay to gloat. He walked out as the station imploded. The aftermath. 6 sons. 6 systems. Gone. The swarm collapsed in fragments. Half their communication lines burned. Command queens dead. Hive logic flickering like a dying pulse. And Kale was just getting started. In the black cathedral of Varaxis Prime, the Hive Lord awoke, a mountain of flesh, thought, and void light, bound to the last breathing sun in the sector. It opened all 9 of its eyes. Spoke for the first time in an epoch. Send the Crimson Choir. Kill the Reaper. Time since first strike, 26 hours. They came without warning. 12 of them. 12 names Kael'Vaya had carved into his memory like tombstones, relics from the ancient wars, resurrected from Drakari stasis, kept in deep cryo-silence until the Hive Lord deemed their reawakening necessary. They were the Crimson Choir. Not soldiers. Not queens. They were executioners. Each bred in antisol chambers, honed across centuries, encoded with every pattern, tactic, and genetic weakness Kael'Vaya had ever shown. They weren't coming to fight. They were coming to erase him. The arrival. Kale stood aboard the Icarian blade, watching the data feed flicker like a dying star. His neural interface shivered, a sign the choir was near. Not from sensors, not from scans, but from instinct. 12 signatures. Planetfall in 4 minutes. The AI's voice was calm. Kale's wasn't. Good. I was getting bored. The planet below, Oryx 4, was a broken sphere of charred obsidian and glass winds. No life. No atmosphere. Just one perfect battlefield. Kale descended alone. Glaive on his back. Armor cracked from 6 systems of carnage. Bones humming. Blood singing. This was no longer vengeance. This was a purge. Crimson 1. Lixen, the Soul Eater. First to land. First to die. Lixen didn't walk. She flowed, a serpentine war witch encased in liquid armor. Her breath shattered stone. Her voice summoned ancestral fear. She whispered as she came. I know your nightmares, Reaper. Kale didn't speak. He moved. closed the distance in half a heartbeat. Glaive low. Spark ignited. He cut sideways, expecting a dodge. Lixen didn't dodge. She opened her chest, literally, split herself in two, revealing a writhing mouth of red teeth and flame. Kale grinned. Cute trick. He slammed his fist into the core of her split. Glaive followed. A pulse exploded, null light and bone. She tried to retreat. Kale grabbed her tail. No running. He dragged her in and tore her apart with raw strength. No finesse. No poetry. Just brutality. One down. Crimson 2 and 3, the mirrored suns. Twins. Fast. Always together. They struck from both sides, blades vibrating at near light speed, their attacks precognitive. Every move Kale made, they echoed, matched, countered. For a moment, they pushed him back. For a moment, Kale feinted left. They mirrored. Feinted right. They mirrored. Then he froze mid-motion. They hesitated, confused. Kale blinked. The glaive split in two. He spun on the central axis and decapitated both with a single twist. Their heads hit the glass floor before their bodies fell. Crimson 4, Erexel, the thought killer. She never touched the ground. She drifted, held aloft by psionic fury. Her brain burned like a newborn sun, enough to shatter minds within kilometers. Kale's nose bled the second she focused on him. Memories cracked. Childhood, war, blood, it all blurred. She screamed into his skull. Break. He screamed back. I did. Once. Then I rebuilt myself in fire. He activated the null core drive in his chest, a psychic burn wave that flattened the landscape. Erexel twitched. Blinked. And Kale was inside her guard, glaive tip already piercing her third eye. I don't need thoughts to kill you. The blade erupted through the back of her skull. Crimson 5 and 6, Churn and Vosk. Juggernauts. One wielded a molten hammer, the other a chain axe made from voidworm spine. They came like meteors, crushing everything in their path. The ground quaked. Even Kale staggered. He didn't run. He charged. Vosk swung. Kale ducked, slid, planted a boot into Vosk's knee. Shattered it. Rolled under Churn's hammer swing and kicked upward, snapped Churn's arm at the elbow. They retaliated in blind rage. Kale used it. He baited one into the other's strike path, then switched positions mid-dodge. The hammer crushed the axe-wielder's skull. Thanks. Kale hurled the glaive into the hammer-wielder's chest and jumped through him. Crimson 7, Nivra, the Whisperless. She was silence incarnate. No footsteps. No sound. Even her blood didn't echo. She struck with vibroblades too fast to see, and a disintegration shroud that devoured armor. Kale dropped into total darkness. No vision. No senses. She wanted a fight of pure instinct. She got one. Kale slowed his breathing. Listened. Then, pivoted. Blade met blade. He caught her strike mid-air, kicked her into the air, and activated his pulse frame, a 0.2-second kinetic boost that turned his leap into a ballistic arc. She never touched the ground again. He caught her mid-air, impaled her, and turned her to ash. Crimson 8 to 11, the Quadrisoul Choir. Full voices. One mind. They moved in perfect harmony, syncing attacks at molecular rhythm. Their bodies were fluid, fast, terrifying. Like fighting a storm of mirrors. Kale dropped into stance. Didn't blink. Then he unleashed the shatter form. The glaive split into 6 pieces, orbiting him at hypervelocity. Kale directed each one like fingers of a god. The battlefield became a whirlpool of death. The choir adapted, for 8 seconds. On the 9th, Kale sliced their link, literally, cutting through the resonance field connecting their minds. They collapsed in on themselves. He executed each one with a whisper. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crimson 12, Zereth, the Lord of Ends. The last, the biggest, the most dangerous. Zereth had no face, no limbs, just shape, ever-changing, like a concept given mass. He absorbed light, thought, force. He was a Hive Lord's personal executioner. The choir's final note. Kale's armor began to disintegrate the moment Zereth came close. Reaper, Zereth hissed. We have never feared you. Kale didn't answer. He stepped forward. Zirith struck, a dozen tendrils of raw entropy. Kale parried, dodged, cut. Nothing landed. Then Kale did the unthinkable. He tossed his glaive aside. You're not worthy of it. He charged barehanded, took a tendril to the chest, ripped it out, bit another one off with his teeth, grabbed Ziritha's core and squeezed, screaming as his flesh peeled, muscles burned. You think I'm flesh? I'm vengeance, you cosmic leech. And with a final roar, Kale ripped the core free. Zirith convulsed, exploded in a storm of null fire and psychic screams. After the silence, Kale stood alone, bleeding, burning, broken. 12 elite killers lay scattered in pieces. The planet beneath his feet began to crack, unable to hold what had happened here. The Icarian blade hovered above, cloaked, silent. Kale looked up. They sent their best. He spat blood. Send the Hive Lord next. And vanished in the firestorm. 47 hours after the death of Earth's peace envoy. Somewhere in deep dark space, behind the cop star of Vorinth, the last sun flickered. Not a system. Not a world. A throne, forged from swallowed stars, twisted time, and the pulsing nerve root of a billion assimilated species. Here, the Hive Lord waited. Not a being. A monstrosity. 3 kilometers of flesh, metal, memory, and hate, towering above the fused remains of entire civilizations. He breathed in pulses of neutron smoke. His mouth was a swarm of minds, screaming. His heart was a psychic black hole. His throne, it beat, loud enough to shake solar wind. The Crimson Choir was dead. 6 systems were ash. His children gone. His rage, cosmic. Kale Vaya. His voice echoed across void space. Come to die. He didn't wait long. The arrival of a godkiller. The Icarian blade appeared over Vorinth like a ghost, hull blackened, half melted, bleeding power. Kale stood in the drop bay, shirtless, armor cracked, chest wrapped in quantum mesh. Blood leaked from one eye. Every breath sounded like war drums in his lungs. But he still held the glaive. It pulsed, no longer a weapon. A force. It had killed so much that its edge shimmered with history. He didn't speak. He just jumped. The final descent. No music. No fanfare. Just wind screaming as Kale tore through space, diving straight toward the Hive Lord like a meteor built from vengeance. Hive tendrils lashed out, miles long, blade-tipped, glowing with entropic plasma. Kale twisted midair, dodging 3, slicing through 2, riding the last like a lightning rail straight into the core. He hit the throne with such force the planet beneath it cracked. And then, silence. The Hive Lord loomed over him, a nightmare of impossible geometry, shifting shapes, split dimensions. He spoke with a billion mouths. You are the end of a weak world. Kale raised his head, spitting black blood. No, I'm the beginning of your extinction. Round 1, light versus flesh. The Hive Lord attacked first. A sun lance, pure gravitational force compressed into a beam of white ruin, screamed toward Kale. He ran into it. The beam hit. Should have turned him to atoms. Instead, his glaive opened, absorbing the energy like thirst. The blade shimmered with nuclear rage. Kale launched himself forward. Cut. Slice. Evade. Return. The Hive Lord's body shifted constantly, absorbing hits, redirecting impact vectors. But Kale didn't aim for flesh. He aimed for knife clusters, memory nodes, logic strands. Each strike wasn't just a hit. It was a disruption. The Hive Lord roared as Kale carved into his memory, making him forget how to use one arm, how to reform his tendrils, how to speak 7 of his own languages. You're not fighting a man, Kale growled. You're fighting retribution. Round 2, Mind War. The Hive Lord's physical form buckled, so he changed the battlefield. He yanked Kale into mental space, a hypercognitive prison dimension, laid over reality. Time fractured. Thoughts looped. Kale was dragged through his own traumas. Earth burning. Myra Nox screaming. The peace envoy crucified over Mars. The Hive Lord whispered, relive it. Forever. But Kale had burned through guilt long ago. He grabbed the illusion and crushed it with his will. I already walked through hell. He erupted from the mind prison with such psychic backlash that it stunned the Hive Lord. His throne shattered, reality buckling around them. Round 3, no weapons. Just pain. Kale dropped the glaive. Walked forward. The Hive Lord, desperate now, uncoiled a dozen flesh cannons, neural flails, quantum spikes. Kale didn't dodge. He tanked the first volley, took a spike to the side, tore it out, caught a flail mid-swing, and ripped the tendril off. He leapt onto the Hive Lord's torso, slammed his fists down, again and again and again. Each blow shattered hardened carapace, sent tremors through space. The Hive Lord screamed. Kale didn't stop. Bones broke. Skin tore. Kale's hands became red weapons. He carved open the chest cavity and found the brain core, a seething black sphere of compressed sentience. He stared at it. This is for Ith. And punched through it. The Reaper's ascension. The Hive Lord didn't die quiet. He exploded. Not with fire, with thoughts. Psychic residue spilled into space, burning the fabric of causality. Systems collapsed. Black holes birthed from nothing. His final scream lasted 8 minutes, across 40 star sectors. Kale fell to one knee. The glaive floated to his side. No fanfare. No speech. He just stood. As the Hive Lord dissolved behind him, the last Hive's signatures across the galaxy went dark. No orders. No Queen songs. No resurrection. Extinct. The message. The Icarian blade broadcasted a final pulse through the void. The Hive has fallen. Earth remembers. And Kale Via walks still. It was encoded in every language. From the burning remains of Earth to the fringe moons of the Drax, the message echoed. Children wept. Veterans saluted. And across one silent system, an ancient AI whispered, "The Reaper has no equals." 1 year later, Kale Via stood atop a skyscraper on New Terra, the last city built by human hands, where ash still stained the air. He watched 2 suns rise. Peace was never perfect. But it existed now, because of him. The glaive was mounted in the city's heart. Not as a symbol of war, but as a warning. A reminder. You can't kill peace, unless you're willing to die with it. Epilogue. The blade waits. In the deep vaults of the Icarian blade, the glaive slept. Its edges still glowed with memory, with blood, with suns. It would sleep forever, unless Earth needed him again. Then it would awaken. And so would he. Kale Via. Reaper Systems. Slayer of Hives. God Killer.